The WSCIJ organizes the annual lecture, which started in 2008, to discuss salient national issues and as well as the media's role in promoting good governance and social justice amid rising ethnic and conflict crisis, food and lives insecurity, banditry, rising oil prices, poverty, exclusion of women, and poor governance systems. Many believe that the unity of Nigeria calls for quick constitutional reform to avoid further disintegration and national disunity. It is in light of this that the theme of the lecture is carefully chosen: Remaking Nigeria, towards a secure and viable union to proffer practical solutions in building a more viable country.
There can be no better time to do this in the history of our country than now, when our country is plagued by a number of issues, including security, poverty, and other economic indices. And I want to welcome you warmly to this lecture and enjoin you to relax and follow the conversations towards Remaking Nigeria, as our panelists are carefully selected to contribute their thoughts and experiences to the burning issues before us. Welcome again, and do enjoy the discussion. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations to the Center for organizing this event and for their continued support for media work. I think you have chosen a theme which is very critical and very important for remaking the nation. And of course, doing it in a way that has to be based on justice, fairness, and equity. And I look forward to what I'm sure will be a very vigorous conversation from this distinguished set of panelists.
We're 60 years now after independence, 50 years after a civil war, and a new decade, a new generation of citizens are facing us, and they're asking questions, and those questions must be chart a pathway for citizens to reflect on where we have come as a country and where we're going to, most importantly.
All right, please, a round of applause for Catherine. The next thing we're going to do is hear from Chido Onuma. He is the coordinator of AfricMil. He had a lot of work to do in Remaking Nigeria, 60 years, 60 voices. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Chido Onuma.
Remaking Nigeria is a book of 60 essays by 60 Nigerians to commemorate the 60th anniversary of Nigeria's independence. These essays by post-Civil War Nigerians examine the realities of Nigeria's social, economic, and political situation and suggest options open to us as a nation and how to achieve them. The fresh ideas in Remaking Nigeria will deepen democracy and ensure governance that truly serves the people. We thank the Shoyinka Center for the opportunity to collaborate on this project. Meanwhile, let's enjoy the robust conversation today by some of the contributors to the book. Thanks for listening and welcome once again.
All right, thank you very much, Chido. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start with the gentleman furthest to my right as we pick up the pace of the conversation today, looking at Remaking Nigeria. And he's going to be looking at the issue of education. I find it really interesting that he was the first nomad in Nigeria to have a PhD. And that means for us, there is a possibility of reforming the nomadic system in Nigeria in a way that works.
If we are to in any way improve Nigeria, it means we have to look back at the foundation and make it solid for the building of the nation. And the foundation actually is the basic education. If at all education is at the center of development. Why don't we have a community-based model where each community that has a primary school will have a community administrative committee that comprises of all aspects of that community that will run the school in all aspects? And why don't our curriculum enable our Fulani children and our Yoruba children and whatever ethnic group is to learn within the cultural purview of their immediate environment and make them productive citizens while preparing them for the secondary and external education they may need to play a bigger role in the society.
The gentleman that spoke about education, I completely agree with what he said about the need for us to strengthen communities and let communities take responsibility. What we have that is strong is our communities. And so we need to strengthen our communities and make sure we build the linkages between our communities and our markets, communities and the states. The problem is not just in Nigeria, so the solution will not just be in Nigeria. And if Nigeria generated the solution on its own without the others, it will be actually vulnerable. So it has to federate the solutions and engage with allies, and we can use technology to enable.
So Nigerians must take up the fight. Either through public interest litigation, we must continue to challenge executive impunity. And I'm also saying kudos to the Nigerian press for the solidarity we saw, I think, yesterday. That is the language that they need to understand. There should never be a time where the civil society, the democratic forces must come together to salvage our country than now. So the civil society must continue to salvage our country.
Then there is another problem which is aggravating the resource conundrum, which is the kind of laws that we have that has cornered all opportunities of wealth creation and pushed them into the exclusive legislative list. You know what it did? It destroyed the imaginative and entrepreneurial capacity of states to look for other means of creating wealth on their own. All of those mechanisms, legislations that had made the center the ultimate and sole controller of national resources need to be dismantled. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Victoria.
If we want to talk about remaking Nigeria to be a secure and viable union, it will be undoubtedly impossible for us to have that conversation without having a conversation about our relationship with crude oil. Because whether we like it or not, in the room that is called Nigeria, crude oil is the elephant. If you look at the top 15 states with the highest unemployment rate, Niger, the other states are topping. It doesn't make economic sense, it doesn't. The people on whose back this country has been built on are having these much challenges, both environmentally and economically. How much longer do we feel that the Niger Delta people are going to continue to bend their backs to carry the economic burden of this country, considering that we've benefited absolutely nothing but a devastated environment? How much longer? The chances of us having this opportunity to continue to share these ideas are slim. We must take this into consideration and ensure that we have a robust conversation.
Now, let me answer one question that always comes up when we raise the issue of restructuring. In my opinion, regions without oil will be compelled to shop for revenue outside the assured purview of the federal allocation formula, which is something that one of the panelists, I think Victoria Ohaire Bezim, spoke about earlier. This would produce new citizen vigilance and scrutiny over government policies and spending. New revenues, as we all know, do not come easy. Scarcity would force these states to explore previously neglected sources of revenue. Taxes and levies would have to be imposed on economically challenged citizens. This would have two interrelated outcomes, namely difficult burdens for citizens and a sense of personal investment in the state on the part of these citizens. All of these factors, all of these realities, these new realities, would ensure an appreciable degree of accountability from subnational public office holders.
Women do not have enough primary healthcare centers within their communities to deliver safely. Pregnancy for Nigerian women is like playing Russian roulette. It's like pointing a gun to her head and saying, you know what, if we pull the trigger this time around, she may not die. If we pull the trigger the next time, she may die. That's what pregnancy for a Nigerian woman is. All of these points come together to say what? There is a nation that is hoping that it is going to grow. It is going to amount to something. It is going to keep skyrocketing and keep blowing up and keep becoming something. But that nation is thinking that at least 50% of its population can be kept down. That at least the conversation around equal rights for 50% of its population is not important. We can just throw women matter, throw it there. And then when we throw it there, no problem. Somehow Nigeria will develop. Somehow these girls will not go to school. Somehow they do not have autonomy over their bodies. Somehow they can make some of these right decisions. They will be put in there to keep giving birth, not understanding the realities behind these decisions. What do you think we're doing? Look at the level that Nigerian women are and look at our society right now.
This current government, the president is its 6th year. There have been, I believe, 3 media chats, many press statements, no press conference. What does that mean? It means that we have not had any avenue to ask our president questions. He has just told us things that he wants to tell us, and we have to deal with them, go figure them out, go search them out. But it is the duty of the media to hold government accountable. One of the very important things I think that the new media needs to do is to decentralize. How do I mean decentralize? Most of the major publications and most of the major televisions and radio are focused on the federal government. Everyone who has spoken here talked about community. We do need to take media closer to the people so that the people know what is happening. And the media is the last hope of the people, really, truly. And we must not allow ourselves to be silenced.
Thank you very much. So what I would like to get to is questions from the audience, both online and in the hall.
How can we strategically change from law of the rule to rule of the law?
Gathering up all this together and voicing out in such a country like Nigeria, will it be possible to succeed? Because the government is not ready to listen to us, and protest is limited.
Why did Fulanis live in isolation, preaching socialization that affects their education?
It is important for the Nigerian journalists to be able to walk into a room and sit side by side a governor and not need to, kowtow and just retreat what the person is saying because the person has been robbed of his or her dignity.
As we're wrapping things up, I need you to put your hands together as I call on Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, the chairperson of this event. He's going to give remarks.
I would like to thank Chido and Otorayo for putting this together. Usually, the chairman's remark sets the tone, but I think the panelists have set the tone today. And for me, I've learned a lot. What they have done today is to give us a lot of food for thought and thought for feeding. And by the time we all go back, I think we need to cross-fertilize ideas much more regularly. Policies of NGO can no longer help our country. You can't have non-governmental organization people out there while criminally minded people are in the parliament. What do you expect? Economic saboteurs and political buccaneers have taken over our country, and we say we are doing NGO work. No, it don't help any longer. And the greatest tribute we can pay to Professor Wole Soyinka, who for the past 60 years have been in the forefront of the struggle of our country for change, is to rededicate ourselves to the struggle for the transformation of our country from a land of poverty to a land of prosperity. Finally, I want to beg you, the media, I beg you, and we must not be sentimental about it. You have to self-regulate. There's a lot of mess going on. And if you don't self-regulate, they are going to regulate you. I'm challenging the MPN, the NUJ, and the Guild of Editors to meet urgently and bring out some new code of conduct. So once again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. And and to urge you to go out there, register to vote, and join, and you can form a progressive political, not progressive in the sense of APC. Thank you.
Thank you once again to everyone who was part of this, online and offline. Please, let's keep the conversation going. The hashtag is Remaking Nigeria and hashtag 13WSC Lecture.